2, 3, we're live. We are live, my friend. We are live. We're alive.
We got nobody in.
I know we don't. We may not have anybody.
What's happening today?
Talk about stuff again ourselves like we did the other day. Oh, somebody else just popped in because there's another. Hang on a minute. Might be my wife. I never know. You coming on? I'm going to shut my door. Hang on a minute. Be right back. Oh. What? She get.
Uh-oh.
Sorry about that.
There's Francisco.
Hey, Francisco. Good morning.
Morning, Mrs. Pruitt.
2 old bears. Listen to who's talking about old bears. Oh, sheep.
You are fresh. Are you freshly shed?
Not in that regard. I got new computer stuff going.
Oh.
I did trim up a little bit here.
Did you do your Thursday night show?
No, not this week. I didn't.
Okay.
I was still having problems. Oh, she found Arctic prairies. Good morning, Diana G. How's everything in Canada? Right now we got a low temperature in Wyoming of 4. I
bet they're colder than that.
And that's Fahrenheit, not the other. Brenda said she found a copy of Arctic Prairies.
Wonderful book.
Have you got that or read that one?
I do.
I got a paperback copy of that I found somewhere in a used bookstore one time. Actually, first copy I read was out of the library at Middle Tennessee State University. I thought, oh my God, here's a book I hadn't seen or read. And it hadn't been checked out. I think that was one of the ones that hadn't been checked out of the library since.
Like 1930?
Yeah, 73 or something. I wanted to buy those books. They do book sales every once in a while.
All right.
I could never beat some of my other professors in to get the Seton books. I think they got early access, which I thought was cheating, but
that is cheating.
So there was a couple of. I think Pelton was a Seton collector too. So I can't.
Morning, John.
Hey, John.
Got to make him some coffee.
Well, yeah, you do. Anybody in here I hadn't said good morning to? Hey, speaking of the devil, there's Miss Carol. See my shirt?
What is that?
It says the Department of Unauthorized Forestry.
Forestry Department.
Yeah, it's got some kind of J or
it's got a J with a seed.
With a big seed in it. Take it somewhere to plant it without permission. Probably don't have any paperwork, environmental paperwork or nothing.
Nothing.
Oh, that was one of the most frustrating things that happened to us.
You go to put trees back that were supposed to be there, and they made you do a bunch of darn paperwork.
Oh, yeah, tons and tons.
And kill a bunch more trees.
I was just trying to plant.
Is your wife on a search for you for Seton books?
I found a 4-volume Lives of Game Animals. that were owned by a game warden in South Dakota. Well, yeah, she is apparently $490 for that set. We probably ought to pass on that one right now. Yeah, she called down there one day and said, "Hey, I found a bunch of Seton books." And I said, "What are you doing looking for Seton books?" And she said, "Well, I knew Mark would make you buy books, so I was looking for some to buy." You didn't really say that.
You very funny, GI.
Well, guys, this is my new and hopefully improved camera and computer, actually, and whatever came inside of that that's supposed to help me do better. My other computer was it was starting to about to throw a rod, so I changed out, and that's been a hard thing to do. It's not been simple. I still don't have everything in here, and I still got some red checks that are telling me something's not connected properly, link-wise inside the computer. I don't know why, but they are, and I've gotten a couple of Microsoft issues where they keep trying to tell me I need to, pay up or I'm going to lose this free version of whatever I've got. And I keep telling them that they can kiss me because that's not going to happen. I've already paid for it. And I can look it up online and it says I've paid for it. So it's just this computer that don't recognize it, apparently.
They're just trying to get more money.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you look like you have got a bright and sunny day, which probably explains the 4 degrees.
Yeah. I got my new rodeo time hoodie sweatshirt. I might need to put that on in a minute.
If you go outside, you might. You probably got on a couple of layers.
That was a plug for Dale Brisby.
Is that is that his sweatshirt?
Yep.
Dale Brisby, Cowboy Rodeo. Well, what is it he says? Or maybe it's not him.
Well, he says a whole lot of stuff.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking they'd say Dale Brisby, something.
World's greatest bull rider.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's it. World's greatest bull rider.
So it's above 4 in Canada.
Wow. This must be some kind of inversion.
And we've had since New Year's Eve, according to our little local weather bird, we've had 50 inches of snow now.
14, Diana said.
Ooh, heat wave.
Yeah. How about you guys, Diana and Mike? You know how much snow, or Carol, how much snow you guys had? Not much, I don't think. She's in a snow shadow or something. Everybody in New York gets it, but she don't get it there in the Detroit area, or not just New York, but Michigan and New York. It's called climate change. This time last year it was so cold. You guys, you guys live far enough north to see wandering polar bears? I don't guess you do. It's been warm here, not that much snow. Wow. Well, the town that Mark's kids live in, and where Shauna works, I guess, part-time anyway, they've had 70 inches. That's what, 15 miles away or so?
Yeah. Yeah, it's awful.
Mike says, yes, we do. I have some in my backyard. I don't know if I believe you now or not, Mike. When I said polar bears, I was asking for that. I don't mean those kind that carry Coca-Colas.
Polar bears at the zoo.
Well, that'll work, I guess.
Yeah, you got to get up to like.
Hey, Tina, good morning. Yeah,
You
church.
got to get up to Churchill and places like that to
To
start
get
seeing
polar
lots of
bear
wandering
after
polar
the
bears.
former sea ice. Oh, me. Let's see. I had another. Oh, well, I got a rodeo. Since you brought up Dale Brisby, I'll just ask a rodeo question. Have you watched any of the Fort Worth stock? I guess it's the Stockyard Rodeo. Well, they've been having bull riding there this week. If I'm getting it live.
Well, it's live. My brother-in-law's there right now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he sent me a picture yesterday of the dog.
Did you call? Okay, that probably answered my
Those
next
are
question.
opening ceremonies, the flag ceremony,
Yeah,
and
they
they
do all that
and
winding,
he
serpentine
was
riding.
looked like he had pretty good seats, and I watched the ranch rodeo that happened the first
I
three
missed that.
3 or 4 days. That's the one I really enjoy.
Yeah, I like it too, but I missed it. I didn't see it the other
And
day.
the boys at the Thor Sixes won that one.
Well, I was showing it off a little bit earlier, Brenda. It says it's the Department of Unauthorized Forestry. And why that's funny, in case you don't know, is birds and mammals and all kinds of critters spread seeds and grow stuff all over the damn world, and then when humans are trying to control that what they're planting, or they don't want it planted there, or they can't get permission to plant it there. So birds can do a really good job. Unfortunately, they do real good at spreading things like autumn olive and maybe bicolor that you maybe don't want spread. But although those are both good wildlife plants.
Autumn olive and Russian olive are wonderful wildlife plant, but they're also really invasive.
Very invasive. John, is that Canadian bacon? Oops. Oh, he's got bacon on the griddle. Hello?
Hello?
What you doing down here?
Getting some Cokes.
Getting a coat.
Coke.
I
He left the box out in the garage.
thought she was getting a coat.
I don't think so. She
I'm
actually feels
going to here pretty soon.
Oh, well, we're not cold here. It's I'm sure it's at least it's 34. I would have thought it was a little. I was out a while ago. It was a little bit. It was a little bit nippy.
At 34?
Well, I mean, compared to what it's been this week, it's been in the 50s and 60s again this week. No, I just said a little bit nippy. I didn't say it was cold.
We would go swimming if it was 34.
That's two entirely different things.
I'd have to break us a big old hole in the ice, but we could polar bear it.
Tina says our birds sure do spread seed all over the porch. Man, aren't they good at that? And a lot of that has to do with because there's so much stuff in bird seed that a lot of them don't eat.
Yeah, lots of millets and things like that, and it tends to grow. Even out here, even under our feeders, we'll get a few volunteer plants from the seeds. We always get sunflowers coming up, which my wife loves, so that's a good thing.
Sunflowers, I guess they're the same kind, but were they native out there?
Yeah, but the little wild, they grow 8 or 10 feet tall, but they got a little bitty flower on, compared to a domestic. They don't get the big heads on them because that's a domestic plant.
It's been crossbred or whatever.
Yeah, it's
pollinated. And the squirrels, Tina said. Well, I tried to wake Teddy up a little while ago because there was a squirrel. He came right up to the window here at the back porch looking. He had an acorn in his mouth. And I tried to wake Taylor up, and he just said, no, it wasn't worth his effort right now.
Yeah.
So he didn't go after it, but he was sure taking a look. I mean, he's been watching them. Every once in a while he'll jump up and run over here, and I don't know if he sees a bird or if he sees a squirrel run across the wall. I've got to fill the feeders up, so I'm not even sure what they're doing. But I mean, I guess I'm gonna not have any birds, or they're gonna abandon me.
Yeah, they'll leave you hanging. They'll migrate.
They will. They'll go to eat somebody else's yard. I bet if the squirrels would do that, that'd be okay.
Mine, I gotta, and I hate to feed every day because of the English sparrows. But
Yeah.
if I don't feed every day, sometimes twice a day, or my wife, she's the main feeder. If the feed's not being put out, they leave the country.
The sparrows do?
Well, the good ones,
Oh,
not the English sparrows. They just go to my chicken house.
yeah. Let's see what Tina put up there. She said, Teddy says you chase squirrels on Saturdays. It's his day off. That's about right.
We're going to squirrel chase today.
We're going to. I got some. Carol, if you're Carol's in here, how'd you put that the other day, Carol? It's not chasing squirrels if I've got slides. As long as I'm talking about what's on the slide, anyway. So my camera's a lot wider. So if Teddy stands up here to say hello, he should be much better viewed, which may be why
you've like unveiled the man cave.
Well, yeah, you can see much more. Well, you can see the bar in the back now, and the safe's uncovered.
You don't have your flags up.
No, because it's the first time you've been able to see the wall forever. So I just thought I'd leave it open for today. And that's my new bar table that the girls brought me the other day, Kelly and her buddy Maggie. And now I have a real place to set my Irish whiskey and other such delicacies.
My Vizsla is doing. They're kind of strange dogs anyway, and she's got her two front feet together, and she's bent down in the front end and got her nose stuck between her two front feet, and then her butt's up in the air, her hind end, and she's just holding that pose. And
That's yoga.
It's what it looks like.
That's dog down or something they call that.
She's been sitting in the sunshine since the sun came up out here at the sliding glass doors. So she's cold, I think.
Well, she's got short hair, doesn't she?
She does.
Does she wool up at all?
No, they're flat coated like a hound or like a pointer or something.
See, Brenda said I got a new bar and it was free. Nope, if squirrels are the subject, then we aren't chasing them. I wonder what we're going to call it then. I think it'll just stay that way.
We're not doing squirrels.
No, we're not doing
We might mention a squirrel.
I can never say I won't mention a squirrel. Because that's just, it'll probably happen. Well, I've already mentioned them once because I said I wish they'd migrate away from my feeders. Of course, they do come back. As soon as somebody else gets tired of feeding them, here they come to check,
Yeah.
back here again.
Well, you used to have those big migrations back there,
Yeah, I know. I've read about some of those.
like
It's
hundreds of thousands.
they would just roll through an area and pick it clean, including anything they could find: nuts, corn, green beans. I guess anything they could eat.
They'd go from Michigan all the way down and swim the Ohio River and go into Kentucky and just huge. And they still happen west of the Mississippi in Arkansas and Louisiana.
Do they really?
Not at that scale, but thousands.
Wow.
There, squirrel.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that, and can you imagine seeing passenger pigeons fly over for hours and hours at a time? And it still amazes me to this day that somehow we managed to
Get rid of all
get
that.
rid of all of them.
Yep.
How in the heck did?
Well, they dynamited roosts and had bounties on them, but mostly habitat destruction was what got them.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, they market hunted them too like crazy, I guess, in some places,
Yep.
and netted them and just all kinds of things. But that was in my first speech I wrote. Passenger pigeons and
Heath hens. Oh,
Ethan.
heath hens.
Oh, no, not in my case. I was writing about eastern animals, but
Well,
whooping.
those were eastern. Those were eastern.
Okay. Well, I don't think they were in my speech though. I think eagles were, because that back then eagles were hurting bad. Alligators were. All the people in Florida probably don't agree or understand this. The alligators used to be hard to find.
Sure, not anymore.
No, they're not anymore. Just ask any Florida golfer.
Or guys in Texas. I mean, all the way to Kingsville. The whole coast of Texas now has got.
I wonder if they've got any crocs down there.
And they were native, but they had been extirpated, but they got tons now.
Well, they come all the way up the east coast to the Dismal Swamp area. So
Yep.
I don't know if there's any between there and Florida, but there's probably a few.
Yeah, there's tons like on Alligator River and down through, the all the rivers that flow into the sound there at Roanoke, and there's gators in Virginia and at the Great Dismal. But anyway,
well, they found a few up the Mississippi further than they ever had just a few years ago, and they believe if the weather keeps warming up, they'll keep moving north.
yeah,
They can move north now if they get up there in the summertime and hang out in the exhaust port of a cooling station or a
right.
power plant or something, because there's warm water coming out of those things, warm to hot water, and they can lay around in that stuff all winter if they want to, and survive. Do they have any saltwater crocs in Texas? Do you know? Were they ever native there? Florida has some, but
I think they go all the way down the coast of North and South America.
They might.
I think they go all the way from, Florida, maybe even Georgia and South Carolina, all the way around and clear down to go out into the islands there in the Caribbean, and they go clear down to at least Central America, and I don't know if they don't continue south.
Well, that would make sense. I know they got freshwater types of gators down there, but there's Florida about the only place you still find salties, or our version of saltwater crocodiles, are around power plants and things where the water's warmer. But I'm sure, as things warm up, that's probably going to change.
I think they're doing a lot better than they were.
Oh, they probably are. I wouldn't be a bit surprised.
They're still, they're still got special protections and everything, but
hopefully they don't. I don't know if they ever got near as big as the ones in Australia, but
no.
Those guys get pretty monstrous. Hey, Ian, good morning, sir.
Morning, Ian.
Good to see you, buddy. How's your part of Colorado? Wow, I wrote a note to everybody at least 30 minutes ago and never sent it. I'll send it now, even though it's a little late. Glad you made it by, Ian. I'm going to assume you're probably at work. Excuse me.
I'll quit that.
Ian said the snow isn't melting. Very in Denver. Yeah, well,
it's been too cold.
Yeah, I guess he's had some of that too. Some parts of Colorado have had quite a bit of snow.
My buddy lives down there, the hunting pal. He's been battling it, so it's been cold. He lives somewhere way out east of Denver.
He lives out in the flatland.
Out towards Kiowa somewhere. So.
Well, I might as well start showing some slides, I think. Let me set this up. Whoops. Watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Whoa, wrong hat.
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto.
He's not supposed to do that.
There's a squirrel too. We just chased another squirrel. Hey, Rocky.
What, Bullwinkle? How did he answer? That doesn't sound right.
What's that?
What did he say back? He
didn't say anything.
Oh,
Bullwinkle said, "Hey, Rocky, watch me pull this rabbit out."
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There's nothing up my sleeve. Presto.
Oh.
And he pulls a lion up out of there.
Yeah. Or a rhinoceros.
Must have got to get another hat or something like that.
Yeah, got the wrong hat. Brought the wrong hat. Okay, I got a small issue.
John is a balmy 42.
Oh boy. Well, I already told you what it was here, so. All right, let's see. Maybe this is going to work. Maybe I'm seeing the wrong thing here.
You have technological issues?
Well, it's me, so sure. I may not be, but I've got some new stuff. I updated some other, like my PowerPoint that I've been using for 25 years or more. It's changed again, and it's acting different from what it's been acting lately. And right now, for some reason, it will not let me. It's not letting me take my picture down. Hang on a minute, guys. I don't like this. There, I escaped it. I think. Yeah, this is part of this I got to figure out. I don't like this. All right, this is probably going to look funky, but let me just do it because right now I don't know how to do it right. So let me set it up and then see what I mean. It's just doing what it's wanting to do. See, now both screens are covered up on my computer. I can't see anything anybody's saying. And do you see a full screen of that slide?
So I can see the comments, and I can see you and I see the bigger slide in the middle,
Okay.
although it's not very big. And I see another deal, the like and subscribe, whatever deal.
You see that too? Huh? I see that's not what I want at all.
But it's all on one screen.
Now what's it look like?
Now I just see you and I and the center slide.
Is it bigger?
Yeah, it's a lot bigger.
Okay.
Mainly because I put my deal on full screen.
Well, you weren't supposed to do that.
But even without doing that, it's bigger.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to try to do this. Mark and I got to talking this week, and we got to laughing about things. And actually, my wife came up with this originally. This was. Well, I was sitting there talking about something at the table the other day, and she said, "There you go. There's your topic." So then Mark and I got to talking about it, wondering how we survived to be as old as we are, and it was all about things we did and grew up with, and if somebody, before I forget, if somebody asks a question, Mark, let me know because I can't see it. Right, I can't see their comments at all right now. Anyway, we got to doing that, and I thought, well, let's see about things like driving around in a car. I mean, and how we survived that. So this picture will come back up again, but this is a car baby convertible. This is kind of a big deal to me because we had one of those. I remember my brother coming home in that. Okay, so please consider hitting the like button or the unlike button and subscribe to the channel if you're interested, and please leave a comment if you can. I mean, you don't have to, but and thank you for your patronage, and don't forget to visit the concession stand.
Oh,
I love this. Oh, come on, Tim, stop it. I love this image. Now, this is from 1904. I guess this is in the newspaper. So I put up, even in the early days of motoring, there was a need for child seating. But back then, they had some different ideas about what that should be. And
they're out on the front.
Yeah, in this example, it appears to me the idea was for the child to arrive at every destination first, even if that was an accident. I mean, look, it's a detachable child seat for $25 extra. Oh, yeah, it's for $25 extra. The whole car is $425 by the Waltham Manufacturing Company. Well, I wonder if that's the same people that made watches. I bet they were somehow related. The Orient Motor buckboard with 2 speeds. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Detachable child seat for $25 extra. So there you go. I mean, you could just strap Junior in up front and take off. He'd ride with bugs in his teeth. And I think about that. I've been down the road with, no shield on a motorcycle helmet or or no, back when they didn't have shields on them or weren't full face, and you get a lot of bugs in the face. So I can only imagine that Junior would not be all that happy about that.
Well, you remember where Dad worked at that machine shop up there in Tennessee?
Yeah, Piney Flats.
Yeah. And we were driving along the highway there one time. And of course, we were in the bed of the pickup truck on the highway.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I looked up over the hood, and a big June bug hit me right in the forehead, and it knocked me down.
That hurts. Okay, I moved my screen out of the way. Let me try to do it like this. Maybe I can put that one on top of this one. Maybe that'll let me do it. Then I can see what's going on. I don't like not being able to see what you're doing. You might be making funny faces. We had tougher kids back then. We were tougher kids back then, Tina. Well, maybe not 1904, but I have news. Oh, what was this? Sorry, we are finally getting a Krispy Kreme. What? A Krispy Kreme? Oh, Tim Hortons better watch out. Although I don't know, Tim Hortons, well, I don't know. I can't say that. There's times when a good old Krispy Kreme tastes better than any donut around. Is that, Ian wants to know, is that a you haven't lived moment? Well, yeah, it could be. Catching a June bug on the
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this certainly is. I was coming home one day from work and I had a full face helmet on and with a shield on it that, blocks off that. And I had it flipped up a little bit and I was wearing sunglasses. But I had the shield flipped up to get the air. Well, I'm driving along here and I hit a patch of honeybees or yellow jackets or something. And one of them got right here under the edge of my glasses and popped me right there on the cheekbone. And man, did that hurt. I pulled over because I thought my eye was going to swell shut. And when it didn't go completely shut, I went ahead and rode home. Brenda, do you recall that? That was when we were still in North. And that was the greatest generation. They were tougher. Tina, that's true. They were tougher. So Ian, I would have to consider that a you haven't lived moment. You haven't lived till you've had bees in your helmet. But this car with the chair seat in front, I thought was when you think about today and how safe they try to make, child seats, and then you see something like that from early cars. You can obviously think that wasn't child safety wasn't their first concern there. Our motor buckboard with its detachable child seat fills a demand for a simple and inexpensive pleasure vehicle such as has never before been offered. And from what has already been done, we are assured, I believe, that the sale for this machine will be enormous.
That's your first four-wheeler right there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it was made to go everywhere. That's true.
Well, and it was a pleasure vehicle, not a get yourself to work vehicle.
Good point. Okay, let's see what we got next. And how many people remember doing this?
I did this.
I did that too. Maybe not at that size.
That was that's where you had puzzles and things back there you could work on when you're on trips and things.
Yep, that's right. Mike, here's the problem with that, Mike, is in 1904, there were very few places that would not, by today's standards, be considered off-road. So it had to be capable. What about the poor bee? Brenda says. Well, what do you think about the poor bee? I hope I squashed him at that point. Well, Enormous then was 20, and they weren't going as fast, I think. Brenda and I both talked about this. You know, we had cars that we could do this, and then I remember cars that didn't have a big enough shelf, and now cars don't even have a rear shelf, and you can't even get up in there anymore. And I used to get there, and then my brother got that spot, and then I had to lay in the seat or down in the floorboard. And there were no car seats or seat belts in the back seat. In fact, there wasn't any in the front seat either. And I would get down, and late at night when we were traveling, Tommy would get up there, and I'd get down in the floorboards because it was always warm, and try to take a nap. Tina said it had to be a wasp. They deserve squashing. No blind spots in that rear view mirror.
Nope.
And Brenda said she used to like to lay in the back when they had a big old boat of a car. Now, some cars in that day, or in our early days, had not only did they have a rear window deck like that, but it was big because they liked to put lots of big sloping glass in cars because it, you know, gave you that much more of a out in the open kind of feeling. So you had a little bit more room up there to lay down. And now that I'm looking at that picture more closely, that kind of almost looks to me like that rear deck lid's about to fall down. You see that gap between it and the seat?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's pushed too hard on it. Maybe they pushed that down to make a swell in it so the baby could lay down in it.
Huh. Or the carpeting's just peeling up off of it.
That's probably what it is. Mike says you know what, Mike? I believe you're correct because that's got a rear engine in it.
The 4-door Corvair.
So not only was this kid unrestrained in the rear window, but he was driving around in what Ralph Nader said was the most dangerous car we ever made.
He was at the explosion.
It has louvers in the trunk lid. So that tells, I think you're right, Mike. And that's the only rear engine car I can think of in that period from this country. I believe you're correct. Now that I look at the car more, it's got the right shape. Well, let's see what else Tim came up with here. Now, I don't remember. I broke down here. I don't remember any of our early cars that had reclined flat seats. So I don't know what kind of car this is. I love those big giant steering wheels.
You reckon that's just like the center console?
I don't know. It could be the center seat, maybe.
Or the center seat, yeah. We didn't have consoles.
Well, no, it was just you just put stacked.
But look at that big old ashtray in the door over there, and
in the back, yeah.
And in the back, and like a handle for opening the door and a handle for rolling down the window.
Big old hand crank to get that window down. Man, those were the days. Mike, that was living. Or Ian, I mean. That'd be a good way to get to sunburn a baby, so the baby wouldn't fall forward if you stopped. But that's what I was thinking, Tina. That they pushed that carpet, all those rear decks were like fiberboard or masonite kind of boards, and they were only about a 1/4 inch thick, and maybe not even that. And I know that because I've mounted, car speakers in them. Because you had to have your sounds, your tunes, But that car's new enough at that time. It had seat belts or lap belts which was so I don't know what year we first started putting seatbelts in. They weren't required anywhere then, but some cars started coming out with them. But that kid looks happy. He can't see out the front window or anything, but he looks happy. Now, if he'll just take a nap, Mom will be thrilled. Now that I looked at that picture, that one lady looks like some TV actress I remember. She almost looks like Beaver's mom.
It's got to be the 50s, though. She's got her white gloves on, so.
Good point. I was 2 years old when my family made the trip from California to Tennessee, and I slept on top of all the clothes in the back of the car. You remember what that was? That the Volkswagen, Brenda? Or was that a big old piece of American iron? I missed this, Mike. Sorry. He said that car, speaking of the Corvair, he said that was as bad as a Ford Pinto. My brother used to drive around in a Pinto wagon, and we'd kid him because he'd say toes blow because of the fact they had a reputation for blowing up. Now, Brenda, am I gonna have to get my mods to Ladies, I swear I didn't marry that woman. That's not the same young girl I married. But her brother certainly would do that. I can't change that till Mark sees it.
I see it.
You see who said it?
Yeah, your wife.
My wife. I told everybody that's not the same woman I married.
Shame on you, Brenda.
We would never say anything like that. My goodness. I'll shut up now because I'll get in trouble. And this is that picture on the front because we had one of these kind of a car seat baby, in-car baby bed, whatever you want to call it. And I remember this because my brother came home in one of these from the hospital, and because I was in the back seat with him, and it was in the back seat.
Looks like it folded up.
It did. It was portable, and you could, this end down here had a set of legs too. You could fold down like these front ones.
So you could put them in the bed.
Yeah, it can't be. They just ride around and then go to bed in the same in the same box there.
I just meant in the back of the pickup.
Oh, we ain't got to that yet. Tina said she's just stating facts. Well, that's true, Tina. She is. Oops, I got the wrong one. Tina says, liar. What do you mean, liar? Who are you calling a liar? Don't call Brenda a liar because she knows about her brother. I don't think she was talking to Brenda. That car had to have that car had to have been some big piece of American iron. I don't know what it was, but you guys had a fastback Volkswagen too, didn't you? That might have been after you moved back here. Ian, that'll be next week. I'll try to get that picture. I can do that. I have a story about that. Remind me later. A real story.
Walking uphill both ways?
Yeah, it's very similar anyway. Here's what I like too about these. This car baby convertible fits front and back. So you could put the little guy up front with you. Also coupes. It's water repellent, twill body. Now, why would that need to be water repellent? Well, you guessed it. It's 15 by 30 inches on 34 inches long. 15 by 30. Oh, up to 34 inches long. So it's expandable too on top of everything else. And it's only $8.95. And that
With
comes with a
with
plaid or
the
a
plaid
maize
or maize plastic mattress.
mattress. Bunny Bear, Everett, Massachusetts. Anybody know if Bunny Bear still exists? I didn't look that up. I just now read that part.
What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing?
But we certainly did have one of these. And I almost want to say there was a thin strap that might have been in it, sort of to keep the child in place, but it certainly wasn't anything we would today consider a safety strap. Isn't that a deal, Mike? $8.95.
We got bad light. They can't see you, pal.
It's almost worse now because it's all coming in over your right shoulder.
Yep. Okay, get down. You're too big.
Fast. Yeah, she did, Mike. At some point they had one of those fastback wagons.
Might be able to.
Whoa, that sounded bad.
Maybe that's
On PW van. Your mom cannot say that she was raised in Southern California. Well, she started out life in Oklahoma, but she did grow up in California mostly. Anyway, so what's on the next page? Now, I love this next one. Travel safe baby car hammocks. Now you can travel with your baby in complete safety and comfort with the revolutionary new Travel Safe Baby Car Hammock. Contact us now, Travel Safe Baby Car Hammocks, 257 Enmore Road, Merrickville, NSW. Telephone 516602 or 773055. What was in
What's
it?
NSW?
You know what? That may be
New
South
South
Wales.
Wales.
Might be. That could be an ad for. That could be out of Australia. That's the only thing I can think of.
There's the baby slingshot.
Well, that's the thing. The next ad was keep baby safe with a Lullaby Baby Car Hammock, and it said, but if you brake hard, it becomes the baby slingshot. And I could kind of see that. I can just see that thing rocking back and forth, hitting the brakes, and that either the hammock going round and round like a cartoon and winding the kid up in it, or slinging him out through the front like a catapult. Says it'll fit any hardtop car, though, in 1 minute installation.
Well, Mike was asking about about how many kids went flying out the windshields, and the glass was so thick in those days you couldn't go out the windshield.
No,
you just ended up like a bug.
And I love this small print. It says "baby constantly visible, rear view vision not impaired."
That's just not right.
And that one's that's out of Lighthorse. That's from Monterey, California. 518 Lighthouse Avenue, Monterey, California. Ooh, California wouldn't let you drive around with that these days. Interesting idea, though. Diana said baby slingshot. Trying to figure out what anybody said. So anyway, I never saw anybody traveling one of these, but that's something else there. And if you didn't have seat belts, you just wrapped the straps around the seat. The thing about it is, I remember kids doing this, and they never were strapped in. And about half the time or more, they were in the front seat, not the back. That looks like a back seat, but might not be. That actually kind of looks like a VW bus. And you could buy that strap out rig right there for $1.88 from Sears. It guards your child as you're busy driving through traffic. Lets him sit, stand, kneel, or sleep without disturbing the driver. As long as you keep the leash short enough. You can also use it to walk your kid. And it'll fit a kid from 1 to 10. I'd like to see somebody hung on to a 10-year-old with that. I don't think that'd be like somebody trying to walk a Great Dane that's not leash trained. Then I had an idea. I put on the note there. What if that would work if you put a bungee cord in there? That'd give you a little shock absorption. You might could sling one through the windshield now, Mike. Hey, Thunder Road King, how are you? How's North Carolina treating you? Where was that other old phone number? These might be, we decided these numbers over here might be Australian numbers. This one doesn't have a number. At least I don't see one if it is. It'd be Hotel 5 or 6 55555. That's what Perry Mason called all the time. Or something like that. And then, look what else you could do back then. You could get this absolutely safe, protected seat and teach baby how to drive. And then they could help daddy on long trips here. Now, this was very common when I was growing up. You'd see kids in the front seat with dad or mom. Now, most of the time it wasn't out on the highway, but then again, we didn't drive a lot of interstates back then, so I might be wrong about that. It could have been a lot of them, but there definitely was always some around. I've seen it. I've probably done it myself, in fact. Of course, that wasn't the real problem, us driving. It was us getting bull squashed between the human impaler there with the wheel on it and father. Oh, you're in Pennsylvania. I thought you were in North Carolina. Did you used to be? Now, see, I don't need that that's on the screen. I don't know how to stop that now. I still got a lot to fix and learn on this. Yep, in the front seat, not strapped into anything. Nothing. Well, like I said, we didn't even have, I grew up driving cars that didn't even have seat belts in it. And because of that, I had a sports car. My first car was the Triumph TR4. And it was a sports car and it didn't have seat belts. So I went to a junkyard and found a set and bolted them in there so I could at least have some in that car. And then the next car I had that I traveled in some going to school was a Toyota Corolla station wagon. And it had seat belts. And I guess that's when I learned to use seat belts because once I had them, I always put them on when I got in the car. But there wasn't any laws about that back then. Nor were there laws about child protection seats, as obviously you can see. But I love these two. Because again, you can just put them right up front with you. Which, if mom's taking care of them or whoever, an adult, that's probably a good thing, unless she's driving, and that's probably not a good thing. But look at the one on the right. Now that's that looks like a jump seat out of a military cargo plane or something. John, did you ever see anything looking like that? Hey, buddy, you want to come up here?
They
Come up.
probably rigged that.
Uh-huh.
They probably rigged that one.
Well, they may have, but it still existed at some point. That car kind of makes me think British, but I don't know that for sure. But you could put it in the front or the back. Come on up. You want to stand up and say hi? Come on. Come on. You gonna say hi, Carol? Well, you make up your mind. Whoops. So somewhere about this time, things started changing a little bit more, and we started seeing a lot more ads for car seats. And I tried to think, I don't think either one of these has the name of the magazine it was in. I looked to see if, except that one, the one on the right, actually the one on the left is a Sears catalog. I can see it now. When it was smaller, I wasn't sure if it was Sears or not. But check that out, because the number 6 there is a platform, it says, where baby can crawl around and be right behind you, right behind the front seat. Now that would be handy. Oh, and up there, number 5, you can buy a steering wheel to add on to your car seat. Now that's thinking. And this one over here, it says, this one on the right says, for young sportsters, the all-purpose car seat. And you can travel with the comfort of home down there with your little bed like my brother had. And then we started putting them in harnesses. And I can remember car seats like this. This one down there is $29. I can remember having one, something like that. The restraining piece was molded plastic with some padding on the inside, and the seatbelt went around that to hold it in. I guess that didn't work because they got rid of that. The one at the top, about the same thing. But and that bucket one down there, number 4 for $17.50. I remember that's called the love seat, infant love seat. I definitely remember those. Oh, Brenda remembers sitting in the front of a diesel tractor, as in tractor trailer, and driving with her granddad and her dad in the front seat. I don't doubt that either, Brenda. I'm catching up with what John and Sandra Road King are talking about there.
Fishing.
Huh?
We're talking about fishing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been fishing to a place that had Avenue in the
name. Tina says, yeah, it flipped down and it was real. I remember seeing them. And yes, British. They're backwards. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, true. And let's see what else I've missed. Oh, well, I fish. Yeah, 4th Avenue, Surf City. Arky said her dad built a little carpeted platform for the back seat. It sat in the floor area and was level with the back seat, so my brother and sister could nap on trips circa 1962. Well, there you go. Well, I want to tell you something. When my kids were both born, I had an S10 pickup truck, and they basically rode in the back of the truck till I traded cars. But I had cushions back there, and they make seats, and we had a slide through window so we could talk to them and pass stuff back and forth, and um, had a camper top on it, of course. But they rode. In fact, Mark and I probably rode in the back of that truck at least once or twice.
Sometimes a long way.
Sometimes a long way. Yeah, we did. He says, "Me either, Mark. Don't think fishing on an avenue is a Western U.S. thing." Probably not. Cedar Bonnet. Now that sounds like a nice place. And Ship's Bottom. That's an interesting name for a town. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. And see, we're progressing here. We got something that's a little more expensive and a little more fancy. It's got a bottom to it. This one's got sled runners, but it's got a lot more padding. And these two over here are kind of like the ones we just saw. It says brought to you by Click Americana. ClickAmericana.com. Oh, that's a .com. Hot dang. Wonder what year that is. That does not look like a car seat that would have been around when you could do a .com to me. I don't know. Oh, Brenda's trying to hit up on a house. Ian said that sounds real 90s.com. Well, what do you say if it's not .com? Brenda's trying to talk Thunder King into renting her a beach house. I know what she's up to. And here's a happy young man. Check that out. He's excited and happy, strapped into his new safe forward-facing car seat. I'm being a bit of a smart ass by putting some of these in there. Thank goodness for the consumer protectors. And that's another one I don't think you can get away with today. But my goodness, Jennifer rode in that bucket seat in the front of that S10 pickup. It was yeah, it was. I don't know why. I bought that truck right before Jennifer was born, and Brenda used to fuss at me all the time, wanting to know why in the world I did that right before we had a kid. Well, you're out of luck, Brenda. Somebody lives in the house. Never hurts to try, though. I like that, too. He's got suckers. I mean, he's got implements of chokage and deathage right there all around him. But he's happy. But the fun couldn't last forever, and the times they were a-changing. Car seats for the littles. And this has also got a .org. Again, I find that internet fascinating that these car seats were around for .com time periods. They don't look that new. Or I don't know. It just doesn't look right to me. And now we get into some really newer stuff. Although that one in that lower right's a little bit like the love seat, but it's I guess different. I don't know. Has anybody got? That's probably not a legal seat now either, is it? Does anybody know? Anybody that's got young kids? The one on the lower right corner, the one on the left. Surely to goodness, that's illegal. That's a fancy seat. It's got a seat within a seat, probably within a seat. A lot of those are made to expand up to several years of age. Like these. That one on the far left is the same model. And then you got, 10 cars, 10 years and one car seat. I mean, look at that rascal. It's even got matching, cup holders. It looks like a NASCAR seat. It's got head protectors going both ways so you can't hit anybody or your neck, your head won't get flung over. Pretty fancy. Up to 120 pounds. And these are pretty much the same seats and different models, different brands. This is a Graco. I think those others were Chico or Chico. And this one's got cup holders and it's Forever Deluxe. So they're trying to make them now. So if you invest in one of these, you're going to keep it and use it for, until your kid's out of car seats.
Till they're 12 or 13 now.
Yeah, in some places. At least 10 or 11, I know.
Heck, there's some places that adults couldn't ride around if they weren't a booster seat.
Well, there's again showing how some of that works. There's a rear-facing infant type carrier that it's fitting into a base that can be flipped on, turned around different ways to fit, as they grow, or taken out and used in the stroller. It fits. That's made, exclusively for that. And then there's this. I love this.
What's the partition thing?
To keep them off each other. So they can't pick at one another.
It looks like they just took two pieces of barn tin and shoved between the kids.
Well, it might actually just be cardboard. Or something similar to that. It's I don't know, but I just loved it because that beats, don't cross that line. If you cross that line, I'm going to hit you. I'm thinking that fight didn't last. And that guy looks really familiar to me. I don't know who that is. He's probably nobody, but he looks like somebody I've seen on TV.
Well, the kids are so far back there, they can't get up there and poke you in the back with their feet either on the back of your seat.
Good point. That kid in the middle's got some pretty good sized boots on. I would say that they're in a minivan and the rear seat's out. The middle seat's out.
Probably so.
So they're in the way back seats. Which I think would probably be a pretty good idea, actually. The Cheerios will be fossilized underneath that seat. Materials will be fossilized to underneath. I don't know what she's trying to say.
The Cheerios that are laying underneath that seat are going to be fossilized.
Okay. Ian said that looks like car seat cubicles to him. Well, Tina, that's true too, and that's how it used to be here. I'm sure it's age restricted now, but I'm not so sure that just by age is all that I don't know. I would think not too. I would think there's an age when they're probably big enough to be in seats.
I think we have maybe it's weight. It could be height.
Exactly, Brenda. He's touching me, Mom. He's touching me. Make him stop touching me. If we had kids, you've been there.
Or the even more deadly, they're looking at me.
Yeah. That's so much harder to contain.
There you go. That's where you get the June bug shot right there.
Right here. And
In that
I
pose.
grew up riding in the back of pickup trucks. And we didn't think a thing about it. And most of the time, now I'll get granted, most of the time that was just around country roads or on the farm or something like that. But like I said, my kids have traveled in the back of my truck, and I've traveled in the back of pickup trucks and gone considerable distances. And so I looked that up. So if anybody
on interstates.
even
on
interstate, yeah. I looked that up, and there are some states that have no restrictions except on interstates, and you're not supposed to be doing it. And of course, most child restraint laws now come into effect, and that makes it automatically illegal to have kids of certain ages and sizes in the back of a truck because they don't have restraints. And but I've got a chart, and that's why I ran this picture last. I'm sure I could have found hundreds of pictures like similar, but I wanted to.
Well, Dad, my uncles used to drive down the dirt roads or the gravel roads trying to rake us off the side with limbs.
Well, yeah, that's happened. I like the station wagon that had the seat in the
Make you
back.
sit down.
I can remember people that had those, Brenda. Some station wagons used to have a rear-facing seat in the back, and some people could do that, and some people couldn't. Some people would make terribly car sick. I don't know if I could do that today or not. I got really much more sensitive about that as I got older, and especially after I popped this eardrum, or at least it seems like it was after I popped this eardrum. And I don't know if I could ride backwards from here to Knoxville to Johnson City or something. I don't know if I could or not. It doesn't sound like much, but it can be a terrible thing.
So Ian said that even in the 80s in LA, his soccer team was riding around the beds of pickups.
Diana says there's nothing like riding in the back of a pickup when you're a kid. That's true.
You could hug the cab even when it was raining and stay dry.
Yeah, usually. Ian said I had a 94 Taurus station wagon that had a backwards. Oh, really, Ian? I didn't know that. I never, we looked at those things one time, and I thought I might like to have a Taurus station wagon for the kid, to haul the kids around in. Carol says she rode in the back of a pickup truck in the 80s, but only out on the country roads. Yeah, I think that was pretty common. A lot of people didn't do it on the interstates, but I'm going to tell you something. Around here, we saw it you did see it on the interstates pretty regular. Or the 4-lane, whatever you want to call it, whatever they might have called it in that particular location. So I got the book. Let me see if I can pull this up. I've got the chart here for examples. I know where that's at. If anybody wants.
Yeah, hay bales make great seats in the bed of a truck.
Oh, yeah. Hay bales are good. Nothing wrong with the hay bale seat. Oh, I opened the wrong one. I dropped this into an Excel spreadsheet a while ago. If anybody has a question about the particular state they live in, unfortunately, Mike and your spouse, Diana, I didn't pull up Canada, so I don't. You'll have to fill me in on that one. But anybody wants to know what the true law is in their state, in the U.S. of A., I can tell you, for example, in Wyoming has no state laws about it, which means you can just do whatever you want to do.
Imagine that. I don't think that's accurate, though. I think because at least for children, they have to be restrained.
In Wyoming?
Yeah.
So do adults.
And so do adults. You got to wear a seatbelt, too.
Well, then I don't know. That's a good point. I don't know. This may not be up to date on that. But that's a good point. If you, interesting.
Because if you have to be in, like, if you're on the interstate anywhere in America, you got to be restrained. And it might be all U.S. highways. And for a while there, I know Wyoming didn't have a seatbelt law, and they enacted it because the federal government was going to cut off their highway funding. They didn't.
Yes.
I don't think it's legal anywhere for anybody anymore on a maintained road. At least I suspect you can still get away with it on 2 tracks and things like that. But
You mean out there?
you like out here.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
if you go out driving around on a BLM road.
Tennessee has some laws about it. People 12 and older, people 6 to 11 in a vehicle being operated off the interstate or state highway system in a parade if the vehicle is going less than 20 miles per hour, agricultural activities, or on city or country or county roads unless prohibited by local ordinance or resolution. That leaves it pretty wide open.
And we might have that ag.
Yeah, I bet you do.
You know, no restriction on agricultural stuff, but John, are you asking me if we have bears? Because if that's the question, yes. 2 kinds.
And what Brenda's talking about is riding around Cage Cove in the back of a pickup truck, which is fun. But I don't. Now you could have a bear want to get up in.
But if you had a black bear wanting to get in and take your
marshmallows or
your
something,
Scooby snacks away from you, you might.
Especially when half the people up there are feeding them out of the back of their truck.
Right.
Hey, Shelley, good morning. Welcome in.
Out of their dens from high. Oh, no.
No, they're not yet.
No. They won't be out till March or April or later.
Look at Ian, what Ian had to say here. The 2 times the bears up by you, Mark, are scary and scarier. And they're big and mean and really big and mean. Bears, not beats. Well, we figured that out. Let's see here. I was going to look up another state. New York. New York says yes. And it's inapplicable to trips of 15 miles or less. Inapplicable to trips of more than 5 miles if 1/3 or less the passengers are standing, or if suitable seats are securely attached and there are side rails and a tailgate. Inapplicable to trips of more than 5 miles if there are less than 5 persons 17 years or younger in the cargo area, or if at least one person 18 years of older is in the cargo seat. So they're making an assumption there that a good 18-year-old is going to make sure the kids don't fall out of the back. That's a big if there. It says Montana has no state law. I know some of them say you can do it if you've got a camper shell. Here we go in Michigan, Carol. It says 18 and older, 17 and younger if the vehicle is moving 15 miles per hour or less in a parade. If they're military vehicles, not sure why a kid younger than 15 would be in a military vehicle. Emergency situations or farming and construction. So as long as your kids are running around with military guys,
You're good.
you're good. Let's see, John.
You can get in the bed of a deuce and a half and drive around.
Oh, I love this one. In New Jersey is a yes. Let me see what that title actually is. Well, it doesn't say. I think it's whether there is any restrictions. But you can do it. I guess that means yes if you're an employee engaged in a duty. Employees engaged in their duty. So if that's part of your job, you can do it. Did I say New York? Here's New York. Oh, well, New York.
You did New York.
I did New York. That's right.
That was the cool one.
Yeah. Shoot, I probably got everybody that's in here. Except Ian. I hadn't looked at Colorado yet. Kentucky has no state law. Of course not. They don't have anybody over 15 anyway.
They don't have anybody over 15.
Well, they don't survive that long. Less of them survive to get to that point. I love the ones, and several of them say this. It's okay to ride in the back of the truck if you're an employee on duty.
We drove all over the F.E. Warren Air Force Base in the beds of pickup trucks, shooting antelope with dart rifles.
Well, there you go. I saw one here I thought was funny. Here, employees on District of Columbia says, employees on duty, people riding within truck bodies in a space intended for materials. Well, that's pretty wide open too. And people sitting in the cargo area if it is a fully or partially enclosed on all four sides. And Colorado was people sitting in. Yeah, that was the one I just read. Was Colorado. Delaware is no state law. So there you have it, guys. People told me a few years back. I can remember when people said, "Oh, you can't ride in the back of a pickup anymore. That's illegal now." And they passed the law, and I never did know for sure. But it probably had more to do with. It probably has more to do with seatbelt laws and child restraint laws than this. In fact, that's what it looks like in a lot of places. It's more with regard to that than it is to just somebody riding around in the back.
Yeah, it looks to me like all that would and I don't mean Donald, but would trump the riding in the bed of a pickup rules.
Oh, I got you now. I know what you're saying now. You're saying that trumps the other rule. I got you. I thank you for clarifying that.
Ta-dun-dun.
Oh, you had me concerned there for a minute.
Sorry.
Thought we were getting political. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no.
What?
This is serious. I think my coffee warmer plate just went tango uniform. And Tina said, what? Good start, Tina.
Don't worry about it, Tina.
Oh, I'll tell you. But
No, you're not.
well, I can be diplomatic about it. Yeah, it's got a timer on it, so it always goes off. You know, it only runs for a certain amount of time. Whoa, dang it. I went my magnets. I had it covered with magnets because it had, my cups didn't set down on it. It's got kind of a deep plate. I'm going to have to get a new one. Hear that, Brenda? I'm going to have to get a new one.
So, John, there's probably 400 to 500, maybe as many as 1,000 pronghorn living on base now. And we had no way of controlling them, and they were just into town constantly, or creating havoc on the golf course or whatever. And so we were darting those pronghorn and giving them to the state of Oklahoma in exchange for turkeys.
Well, that's not too bad a deal.
No, it was a good deal for both states. And we took all those pronghorn down there to western Oklahoma, and they packed their bags, and all of them moved to the panhandle of Texas.
Oh, no. Surely some of them hung around.
Not very many of them.
Well, you know what Nancy Griffith used to say about that? That nobody wants to live in Oklahoma. At least that's what her grandma used to tell her.
Well, I kind of like parts of that state.
Well, I'm just telling you what the song said.
Yeah, I know.
There's a couple places in that state I don't care for.
Rest in peace, Miss Nancy.
Yeah, rest in peace. I assumed that's who you were talking about recently when you said Nancy was dead.
What's that?
You had sent me a note not too long ago where you said something about Nancy had died.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, well, that's what that was. Yeah, she died. It's probably been a couple of years ago now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I found out kind of after. I was like, well, I wonder if she's still singing like Deadwood, South Dakota, and she ain't.
No, she ain't. Good song, though. Shelley says that she hears snowmobiles and it's making her a tad jealous. How's that, Shelley? Do you know it? Do you know anything about? I don't mean you don't know anything about it, but when it comes to riding children on snow machines, no, not Nancy Griffith. Griffith. She was
Nancy Griffin.
Yeah, she's a kind of a folksy. I wouldn't call her a country singer. She kind of sang cowboy songs from the old days kind of stuff, but she wrote a lot of music and she wrote a lot for several albums. Then she, after 20 or 30 years of that, she I don't know, I think she kind of lost her muse or something, and it wasn't coming to her like it used to. But then she passed away a couple of years ago, and I can't remember if it was something chronic that she had. It wasn't cancer, though. I don't think it was. It might have even been pneumonia. But she doesn't. Shelley said she doesn't know she hadn't owned one yet. I'd be curious because I see snowmobiles in like Minnesota and
Kids just climb on them. I don't know of any laws about kids riding snow machines.
well, it's a little bit like four wheelers.
And if you're a little kid, even little kids drive them around.
Mm. Man, I don't know about that. Some of those things are pretty powerful.
Well, some of them are. A little kid couldn't physically do it
Yeah.
because they're too large. But they make little sleds for kids snow machines that.
What do you guys call? What do the natives call them, or you guys call them in Wyoming?
Snow machines or sleds.
Yeah, most places up once you get north don't call them snowmobiles. That's usually what we call them.
But they.
I saw the coolest thing years ago. There was this is a squirrel. We can count this one. We were at Daytona one year and we were watching there's a group of amateur road racers that race vintage type motorcycles, stuff in the 60s and 70s and maybe up into the 80s. And but this guy who was really smart with working with two-stroke engines, he had taken a snowmobile engine. I don't know what model it was or what make. I can't remember now. Phil would probably know. But he had taken a snowmobile engine and taken, of course, out of the snowmobile, turned it around backwards, and mounted it in the frame of a motorcycle, which he custom built. And he was racing that thing in like the unlimited class of, I think it was it might have been a 500cc, but I was thinking it was less than that. But that was a screamer, man. That thing would get up and get. You're taking a break right now, eating an orange.
And Mike gave the rules for snow machines and four wheelers in Canada.
Under the age of 16, you have to stay on your own property on a snowmobile or on a four-wheeler. And when you're on Crown land here in Canada, you have to have a license and a full registration. I think some states you have to do that also, Mike, here, but not many. I think most states are still pretty much, pardon the expression, but freewheeling that one. Tennessee's got some really screwed up laws that we hated when they passed them. We, as wildlife habitat managers or land managers, because we had it. Nancy died in 2021. She was 68 because the death wasn't reported. Maybe that's why I couldn't remember. Really loved Nancy. I mean, she was just loved her music. Have a bunch of her albums, and Phil kind of turned me on to her, I believe. And we used to listen to her. It's good road music. I think that's where Mark probably heard it, riding around with me in the truck or a car or something, maybe. Or I sent
Yeah. I mean, that's where I started listening to her. And then she had that song about Crazy Horse that I was like, well, she's one of my favorite singers.
Yeah, there you go. I think you probably got me listening to the Indigo Girls at one time.
No, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you?
That would have been Philip too. He liked listening to them.
Oh, he liked listening to a lot of people. Phil has very eclectic musical taste. And that was leading to another squirrel, I thought. Now I don't remember what it was. Well, four-wheeler thing down here is kind of interesting because several counties in this state have taken it upon themselves. Well, let me tell you a story. I may have told this before, but this is one of those you probably had to be there, but it was a funny story, and probably about fell off the motorcycle. But Phil and I were going up to Middlesboro, Kentucky one weekend, one Saturday, and we were up in the middle of the coal field area, coal mines and stuff right on the border area between Kentucky and Tennessee. And it's pretty much the same on both sides of the line through there. And there were still a lot of active coal mines going on up in there, and logging. Logging's the other big thing. But we're going down that road and just, doing our swoopy thing around curves. And we went around this turn, and there's another road teeing into the main road. And up pulled a ATV, a four-wheeler, up to the stop sign, a big one. And upon that four-wheeler was this woman who had, I assume, who was wearing like pink bunny slippers, a pink bathrobe of some sort. Don't know if I can remember what she had on underneath that. Like pajamas. And then she had big old pink curlers in her hair. and to top it all off, and what would have made it a perfect picture of Americana in the South, she had a big old cigarette hanging out of her mouth. Just I about came off my motorcycle.
And was on probably a big old camouflage four-wheeler.
I don't even remember that part. She stole the show, buddy. And Phil and I had to pull over not too far past that because that was just, I mean, it couldn't have got much better than that. And of course, she wasn't supposed to be on the road with it at all. But up in that part of the country, they just rode them around like automobiles. If they had to run to the store, or if they had to go down and pick up, a six pack or whatever.
I see them every day in town.
Well, they passed a law down here, and now in some counties actually have active ATV areas where you can legally ride one of those damnable things on roads.
Yeah,
they're not supposed to be on highways, but you can actually ride them in some little towns to get to and from trail riding areas is what it's supposed to be. But
ours are just considered vehicles, and they got to be registered if you want to take them on the streets or roads or whatever. And they just run them wherever. And those big side-by-sides too.
Oh, yeah.
Those are even more popular now.
They are down here now, too. You're
I
starting.
don't know why you wouldn't just go buy a Jeep or something. Cost you about the same amount.
Have you seen one of and they were advertising them last year on the NFR, but the Rock-On, they're made in India. They're made by Mahindra.
Yeah.
They look just like the old Jeeps.
I've seen. I saw those just this year on the NFR,
and they're kind of neat. But they're supposed to be strictly off road. They're not supposed to be road legal vehicles. And they're actually made. I looked it up when they first came out. They were actually made during World War II.
They were making Jeeps.
They were making Jeeps for the war effort over there, and they had that equipment and those dies still sitting over there doing nothing. So a few years ago, they thought, well, hell, let's make some Jeeps, and
it's just like a Willis Jeep. I mean,
they're made on that. All the materials. I mean, the body parts and stuff are actually authentic.
Yeah,
they were made on original Willis Jeep parts.
They look cool.
And let's see here. People get really teed off around here when they're ripping up their farm fields. You better know where you're going because you'll get the RCMP knocking on your door. Those boys are not nice. Well, they always get their man.
They foiled many a snidely whiplash.
They sure did. Here in New York, you need a license on any public roadway. Four-wheelers and dirt bikes aren't allowed, but it's not enforced. Well, I've seen dirt bikes on roads too, but 4-wheelers were. I don't. I was against those rule changes, but I said something Mike thought was funny. Now I can't remember. I'm not sure I know what it was. When you're Mike, when you're as funny as I am, that stuff just flies out, and you just, if somebody don't catch it, it's gone, lost to the universe. And if you believe that, I got a bridge to tell you.
Come here, buddy.
Boudreaux.
You haven't showed your face today. Come here. You're getting too heavy to pick up. There you
Hey,
go.
Boudreaux.
Listen. There he is. All right. You need to get down. You're 30 pounds now.
Shelley says that Michigan says 12 to 16 years of age, they need to have a snowmobile safety certificate and be supervised by an adult 21 and up. Well, at least they're doing something, Shelley. That Tennessee's always been kind of bad about not requiring anything. And a lot of southern states are that way, honestly. Although I think ATVs are great vehicles for their what they were originally designed for. No, that's probably not true, because they were probably originally designed to rip around and tear up everything. But when you're using them to work out of and stuff like that, they're great. I mean, they'll go places that you can't take a truck, and they'll haul stuff you can't carry, and I think they're great. They're kind of like the mule or horse of yesteryear, but riding them on the roads and riding them tearing up stuff. And what I mean by that is you could work all year planting grass and cultivating an area, maybe planting trees, and spending a lot of money on trying to renovate a wildlife area or habitat area. And winter would come, and those rotten SOBs would show up on their 4-wheelers and just tear it all to pieces. And but man, does that get old after a while. And then they want to know why you're not doing anything to help with deer, or you're not doing anything for habitat protection, or why aren't you making an area for us? Or you remember LBL, Mark, which was Land Between the Lakes. If you don't know, they had that they had that off-road area down there.
Yeah.
And that place was a god-awful mess from what I understand.
Yeah, awful.
And by the time I worked there, that was long gone.
They'd shut it down.
Yeah. There was no place on TVA.
LBL changed from TVA to Forest Service.
Well, it's Forest Service now. Yeah, you're right. The only place you were legally allowed to ride an ATV as a civilian on TVA property was somewhere that was an open road, like a dirt road or a gravel road that cut through property from one road to another road. Or, we did have some roads that were open, that we had open so people could drive their trucks back and park and hunt or camp or something like that. You could drive a 4-wheeler on that. But off that road, you weren't supposed to be there, but we didn't always have police out there to enforce it. So, it's really
difficult. We've got a BLM ranger, Bureau of Land Management ranger, that actually is my neighbor. He just lives a mile or so away. Where'd you go?
Keep talking. I hear you. I'm going to get something.
Oh, anyway, he spends half his year just doing off-road violations.
I don't doubt it, but at least he can do something about it. That was part of our problem. We couldn't write tickets or anything.
But he covers, none of the rest of the employees for that outfit can do it. He covers about 4 Wyoming counties, which is saying a lot. Wyoming counties are Well, like he's over Sweetwater County, and it's larger than the country of Belgium. Just that one county.
Didn't you tell me one time that county had more antelope in it than just about any other state in the union or something like that?
Well,
Sweetwater.
our state does.
Oh, okay.
Sweetwater's got a lot of them, but
Interesting.
but that's one of 4 counties that he covers. So
Well,
TWRA, he's spread really thin on that slice of bread.
Yeah. Well, TWRA had some areas where they allowed 4-wheelers to drive open roads, but it never failed that the trail riders would decide they wanted to go somewhere else.
They're going to pioneer their own trail.
So they'll just start their own trails. And man, I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't take but a few weekends and you've got an established trail.
And out here, I mean, in this desert country, you drive off road once and that's a road forever. Because somebody else comes along and sees your tracks and somebody else comes and it just doesn't heal.
There's places out your country where it's the Oregon Trail for one thing. Oregon Trail is
that's just a 2-track across the country.
But a lot of it's still there, and the places it's not still there because they put roads over it.
Right.
I mean, it basically hadn't gone away. Shelley's saying something else. Supposedly, Michigan has 13,400 miles of trails, including multi-use, and more than 4,000 hiking trails. You know, I think I've heard that, Shelley. I sent off one time and got a travel brochure kind of thing from Michigan, and I think I remember that being a big. I wonder if most of those are in the UP, Shelley. Do you know? Oops, saw Santa Fe Trail still there. It doesn't go away. No, they'll never go away unless you go in there and cover them up or something. But
it'll be there unless you pave it over or something. And that's a great idea about trails to rail or rails to trails.
Yeah, it is. We've got bicycle trails and stuff down here for that. I know up north, maybe, and this Shelley can answer this, or maybe, or some of you other northern folks, but I know there's some states up there where they do. That's a popular thing. Snowmobile trails on the old railway, right of ways and pathways. There's some really nice bicycle trails have been created on railroad areas around here. Brenda says, "Babe, you need to give an update on Reggie." Okay. Well, I will give an update on Reggie. If I could pull up a picture of Reggie. Let me look while I'm talking here and see if I've still got any. I may not have downloaded any on this computer yet. But everybody knows about Reggie or remembers Reggie, the cat that had to have a leg amputated. And he's doing real well. He's picked right up. He's gotten real attached to James. He's James's boy now, seems like. And I got a couple of good pictures of him. If I can, I don't know. This new computer, I don't have everything on here, but he's his hair's starting to grow back a little bit. He's got that soft, downy fuzz. And what else? And they've got 2 big ginger tabbies, and they've all come to agreement that it's okay if a 3-legged cat hangs around. So they're they seem to be taking good care of him. They sent us a picture the other night with him sitting in the window with one of them looking out the window. So he's doing pretty well. Yeah, Carol, I know it's kind of a weird thing to get so involved in something like that in a way. He didn't belong to anybody in particular. He kind of belonged to everybody around here except for the people that really should have been taking care of him. And if they'd had their way, it wouldn't have been a happy ending. They would have not cared one way or the other. That leg might have hung there till it fell off or something. But he's getting along real good. I've seen a couple of pictures of him just standing still. Around here, you also need a trail pass. Well, it's about $500 a year to use registered snowmobile trails and ATV trails on Crown land.
Wow.
That's pretty pricey. I bet that either makes a lot of criminals or slows a lot of.
Yeah, but at least it makes them pay for their program.
I agree. 100%. I agree there.
I mean, I wish we had something like
Yeah.
that.
Well,
I don't know if it needs to be $500, but it needs to be something.
From east to west, she said there's about 550 miles of trail on the UP. I was watching one of my favorite shows these days, The Secrets of Oak Island. I don't care if those guys never find treasure, but I'm enthralled with the historical things they keep finding up there. Anyway, one of the guys was running around with a Yooper hat on. Or Ooper. What is it? What is it? Yooper or just
It's Yooper?
Yooper. Mike says that keeps the trails roamed and maintained. That's true, Mike. And that's okay, because that's what people don't understand. Or one of the reasons land managers hate them so bad, or four-wheelers. We don't have snow machines down here, but it's because they tear everything up, but they're not paying for any of that to help get it reworked and fixed. And because we get enough rain down here that when you go in and start ripping a ridge up and cutting trails in just everywhere you want, up and down hills, pretty soon the erosion is terrible. And they don't care. And if you start to charge them, they just have fits. But then when an agency doesn't take care of it or something, and they can't ride it anymore, they complain. So, it's a no-win, but they don't want to pay, that's for sure. And planting trees, he said, well, that's good too. You do not want to get caught without a trail pass. They will take your equipment and impound it. Well, that's good too. I'm glad maybe people won't agree, but that was, again, one of our problems is we didn't have the teeth. For a long time, we didn't have the teeth to do some of those things. We could run them off and we could make them sound like we were going to, but we couldn't write tickets. And I always one of the main things I wish I'd had on that job was a ticket book. Well, let's see what else we got here. They get 6,165 designated miles. That's not bad, Shelley. Snowmobiles, I mean. Brenda's back from her orange break. Well, that's good, Mike. I'm glad. There's always somebody down here that says, that's what I pay taxes for. But they don't. And it's rarely what their tax money goes for. It's not designated for that, especially in our case, because we didn't get we got no tax revenue whatsoever. We were strictly based on how much electricity we could sell. Okie dokie, Mikey. Shelley, we used to plant a lot of trees. There's an area in Tennessee called Copper Mountain or Copper Hill, Tennessee. And TVA planted millions of trees there, and grass and all kinds of things, trying to reclaim the land. That area had been the home of copper smelters since the country was settled, just about. And the byproducts of those smelters, probably the burning of the wood for charcoal or whatever else they needed to use it for, just stripped that whole area into a big giant red clay looking mess. And it was so big you could see it from the space shuttle or from space. And growing up, I never knew that was down there. And then I learned all about it later in life, and actually met a lady who used to live down there, and she told us about it a couple of times. And she grew up, it was a terrible place. And of course, back then, the mining companies just got they just walked off and moved on to something else.
Dang, Ian,
What these saying?
whoever smelled it dealt it.
Yeah, well, that should have been how that worked, Ian, but I don't think so.
You just walk away.
They just walked away. There's a new tunnel in the middle of our aquarium. Goby popped up right in the center this morning. Oh, yeah, we have a lot of excavation going on in the aquarium right now. Uh-oh, they used the Zoe plug. That's not good.
What's a Zooplug?
Well, she's got little fragments of zoanthid corals
Oh,
that open up, and they're just
fringy, all fringy looking.
yeah. And she bought some little ones to. I mean, they look like plants, but they're really not plants. But you kind of plant them and get them growing in your aquarium. Just checked around us. There's permanent trails, 230 miles are designated for ATVs and snowmobiles, and they're maintained throughout the year. And who does that, Mike, up there? Is that like the Department of the Interior Land Protection Agency or something like that? Or what time is it? Guys, I'm going to have to get off here in a minute. Why is that yellow? Why is that yellow?
Yes, Tina, coral is an animal.
Yes, it is, Tina. And these zoanthids are corals. They're, I guess, a soft coral. I don't know. Maybe their base gets hard as they grow. Yeah, well, Shelley, that's a discussion that we could have on a Thursday night show if anybody want to talk about it. Oh, it's a club. Oh, that works with the natural resources. Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, some of that happens here too. If you can get a decent group of people involved, and they will take care of stuff. We have that down here with horses a lot of times, which I love horses, but they are brutal on trails. They are hard. And each one little hoof's kind of like a little mini shovel. They just dig as they walk, and so it takes a fair bit of work to maintain trails if they're getting a lot of heavy use. And some of those riding clubs or areas or groups help take care of those trails, so that helps out. He's like a whack-a-mole right now.
Sheldon in the ball pit, Bazinga.
No snowmobiling is very popular here because we get a lot of snow and long winters. I bet it is, Mike. I mean, I used to work with a guy, not where you're at, but he was in somewhere in Minnesota. He grew up or lived or worked, and it was up there too. And that was one of them places where people used their snowmobiles in the winter to get around everywhere and to go to work if they needed to. I used to drive them through the McDonald's drive-through and that kind of stuff all the time. All right, guys, I think I'm going to shut this down. I'm getting kind of
Punchy.
a little bit. I got a bird inside my bird feeder out here. He's inside the cage part. He's gone through the feeding hole. Hey, you want to get up and say hi or not? Hey, you want to go look at you want to be on the camera? You want to say hi to Carol? No, he's just looking at the bugs. He said, no, I don't see any bugs. I wasn't talking about bugs. All right. Everybody have a great day. Mike, sorry I didn't talk donuts much this morning. Brenda wouldn't let me bring any home today. She wouldn't let me go get any. We'll have to talk about that later. Yeah, Tina, it does seem to be working. If I can get the rest of the stuff working and hooked up and figure out a few of the things that I'm having troubles with, and they're not real troubles, they're just me troubles trying to get everything loaded correctly. Then, I couldn't see it. Oh, yeah, I can. It's a wren. And I can't tell from here, but it's either a house wren or could be a Carolina wren. Brenda's going to wish everybody a fantastic weekend and have a great day. Make somebody smile today. Well, that narrows it down. That makes it tough. That means I got to make you smile. You're welcome, Ian. Thanks for making it, buddy. Always a pleasure.
See you, everybody.
Yeah, I kind of did, Mike. I think that was part of it. All right, guys. See y'all again next week. Thanks for being here. I'll get a little more organized as time goes by. Get things back kind of to normal. Don't forget. Thanks, Brenda. Don't forget to hit that like button. Yeah, your wrens are down here, Tina. A few. We usually have a few hang out and usually have a pair of nest on the porch or something. So we kind of like that. Anyway, bye, everybody. See you next week.